we are. We're live. So, live as it can be. Phoenix, Arizona. January the 10th, and we're 4 o'clock. So, we're on the dot. 61 degrees and sunny and clear out today. No clouds. So, really nice. Having kind of nice weather. It was warm enough I could be out in a t-shirt today, which is always nice. Hey, Robert, how's it going? So there we are. Kick right into things and say, hey, if you haven't, go check out Amazon Prime. Sunsets, streaming there. It's cheap. It's easy. You'll enjoy it. Makes everything sense. Make your life complete. Hey, David. Hey, Tony. Robert says, old Shane. Yeah, Shane. We could talk about Shane a little here and get that out of the way. Yeah, Shane Gell, I take it you're talking about. Jackson, get out of the blinds. But Shane Gell got on, and we'll give him a pump. He got on old Terry Carter's. Terry ain't that old. Howdy there. Hey, Ed. Hello everybody. Arizona Gold Hunter. Pouring snow. Sorry, Tony. We got sunshine and nice weather. Also got things set up. Got a little light here. I'm trying out some different light styles. Of course, you can see the daylight kind of creeping through there on the side. And as always, you can see on the clock on the wall, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Still. We'll get back to Shane in a second. Hello all. Hey, Arthur. Hey, Wayne. Got internet back finally. Living in Southern California was interesting. Good thing if you've left that you're last few days. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Can you reply here how I can buy sunsets? Amazon Prime. You can download it for your phone, for your laptop, for your computer, play it on your television through whatever systems you can. The physical copies, we don't have a P.O. box to ship them yet. We still have a box full of them. No, it's not on the screen. It's on the floor over here beside me. We got to get another order. The problem with shipping physical DVD Blu-rays is Amazon wants us to give them like 200 up front, and we were still selling the first batches we kind of went through, so we were going to have so much money sitting on it, so we were kind of waiting. We should pick it up soon, but that also means we wouldn't have any physical copies. So we're trying to work out that balance. So that is how to do it. Get out of the blinds. Hey, there's nobody out there. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares. Go out in the other room. Anyways, hey Lacey, how you doing? Tilt the camera down a bit. Well, I tried. It won't go any further. It's because of a guitar above it. So I'm going to have to work on that. It's higher than it. It's down lower than it was last week. So I did get it to go a little more, but I'm going to have to do something and change something. The monitors don't adjust. I know. The monitors are just one setting. So, yeah, we will get to that next. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to take a little tape or something and get it kind of set. But yeah, the problem is one of the guitars I pulled down is sitting there with it, and because of the situation, it's always going to kind of be like that right now. Okay, we got that to Lacey. Yes, sir. Just got back from Cali. So Prairie. Yeah, it sucks completely in California, man. Everything California for everyone. Just seeing the devastation, it just looks like Ukraine, and you're just like, wow. And the fact that they had no water in the fire hydrants or even the garden hoses. Steve Guttenberg, the actor from Police Academy, they showed him at his house, and he was trying to help his neighbor, and he had a shovel, and they were trying to put out some small, little fires around the house. And he was talking, and he had no water at his house either. I mean, how do you just not have water? So I don't know. I'll do digital and physical. Okay. Yeah, well, you can get the digital now on Amazon Prime. So you go to Amazon, and it's on Prime. The digital is there, so you can get that. Hey, Jason, how's it going? And let's drink the Bob Ward. Yes, we're going to get back to our friend Shane Gell here in a moment, though. Maybe that was enough a shout-out for Shane Gell being on... he appeared on Terry Carter's video channel. Terry Carter's a great guy. I don't always follow the mentality of some of the stuff that he just interviews people. Let's put it that way about him. I've known Shane for quite some time. He wrote a book. I read his book. It had stuff in there about me that was completely off base, about the rendezvous that made no sense. He comes off as a really kind of a nice guy. He's a big dude. Carries a lot of weight. But he comes in and he just starts telling you really off-the-wall stuff. He sends me pictures. They're all blurry. Every picture he's ever sent me is blurry beyond comprehension. It's like he used a flip phone from the 1800s to take the pictures. And then he says, don't you see the javelina skin that has the gold coins in it? And I'm like, no, I don't see anything. I just see this blur. You don't see that. You don't see the gold bars. And then he does Photoshop for other stuff, which is obvious. And I think he does that tongue-in-cheek, I hope. But yeah, one time at the rendezvous, he sat there with us. He told us how he had found the Ark of the Covenant. He had found the Lost Dutchman mine, of course. He found the Spanish treasure with the Peralta stone maps. I'm missing some stuff here. He found a family of Bigfoots, mom and dad, and a couple young ones. That was down at Burns Ranch. He has this very eclectic storytelling mode that is just beyond understanding. And he just will keep going. It doesn't matter that I say this. It doesn't matter if I'm sitting there and cracking up at him and kind of making fun of it. He just will keep going. And he says he has a paraglider. I've never seen the paraglider. I've never seen him in the paraglider. I've never seen him in the mountains, period. I've seen him coming and going from the trailheads where he's driving in or out, but I've never seen him on the trail, so I don't know what he's doing. As far as the paraglider is concerned, I don't know. He just showed a box in the back of his vehicle once and said that was his paraglider. I've never seen any video, anything functional from it. He can afford a paraglider, but he can't afford a decent camera. And Shane, I love you, but man. And then on top of it all, he always has a big smile on his face too. So good guy on that end. But oh man, I don't even know where to go with Shane. But his book was just blew my mind because I was like, there's nothing factual even closely correct. What is he doing? He's like, it was bizarre. I have a copy of it because I bought the ebook. I don't believe the FBI took it down. I think the literary police got it and put it in custody and put it in jail. And I don't know. I don't know with Shane. I mean, yeah, and you know, he really pushes himself out there. He goes and give him that credit for that. But he got himself into trouble years ago with some stuff and a little con man kind of thing. And I think it's still on YouTube. His family and some other people were off on him. So, you know, Shane is Shane. And who knows where he's really from or where he is. He's not the only guy like that. There's people out there that people kind of respect and think actually are knowledgeable, and they're just almost the same. So there it is. Terry's awesome, but yeah, yeah, the giant stuff too. I don't know. I like Terry, and I'll do anything for Terry if Terry wants me to sit down and tell some stories. But we're very different types of channels, so I'm not going to get Terry's crowd. I'm not going to get the UFO crowd. I'm not going to get the Giants crowd. I'm not going to get those things because it's just kind of like I have to tell. Well, you know, if you're drinking Bob Ward again, we should drink to Shane Gell, which means we need a lot of drinking. There's first Dan Dillman. He searches for the Aztec gold. Yeah, there's a lot of guys. Yeah, Terry gets a lot of good people and gets a lot of good information. Terry and I talk. And, you know, we don't always talk treasure hunting. We talk life and different things. But, yeah, I really like Terry. And he knows that. And I think the world of him. Thanks, Wayne. I thought he's not full of it. He's just absent. Yeah, well, that's Terry's thing. He just lets people go. It's not common sense. Okay, let's put it this way. And it's not like Shane has a YouTube channel with 62 people or whatever. Shane just makes crap up, and he says it, and if he believes it, that's fine. like I said, he always greets me with a handshake and a big smile, and he has more stories, and that's fine. I've talked to a lot of people like that, and he really goes off on the tangent. It's just like, anybody's talking about something, someone says, yeah, I saw a weird light in the sky out east last night at sunset, and then he'll be like, oh, that was the alien craft that landed out by my yard. My neighbor called my attention to it. I couldn't get good pictures, but I met them. They're pretty nice, and we had chili for dinner. He goes in this weird way of like, you're like, whoa, Shane. So he can tell a story. It's I don't know. So, but Terry's thing is he doesn't like to be interviewed and stuff. I've wanted to do something talking about him because he has a really fascinating background. Terry does. But he doesn't like to do that sort of thing. He doesn't want to be the guy being interviewed or in part of these types of things and stuff. So that's Terry's thing, whatever. We do have a mystery this week, though. So I'm trying to keep my head up because I will slunk down because of the mic and stuff, but I'm trying to really keep my head up because the camera's still not where it should be. I know it's high because we used to never see the ceiling. This is a copy of, not the first edition, but this is a copy of Thunder God's Gold. This is one of the ones that Barry Storm put together later after the book was out. He had these different ones. I have a couple different ones. This is like a paperback version of Barry Storm's Thunder God's Gold, and that's an authentic. And this is the one when Bob Schuess ended up with the rights to Thunder God's Gold, and this is the book he put out. It's a very thin book. I never thought much about it. It's only 52 pages, and it kind of hits some of the highlights. Hey, I got Bob to sign it too. Bob autographed his version of it. But he had the rights for years, and he printed a whole bunch of these, and he sells them. But I picked this up the other day, and it's very strange. It's using this cover, same cover that's on Bob Schuess's book, and it's from 2014. Bob's predates that. It has the notes of authenticity in it. It is the complete book of Thunder God's Gold, without Bob's chapter at the end, but it's very strange. It doesn't say, other than the 2014 publishing date, it doesn't say anything else. So it just says by Barry Storm. So anybody ever let me know where that one came out? There it is. Drink to Tom Collenborn. Well, we have to do that. You guys keep making us drink. I'm going to have to start sipping. When do you think he jumped in a wingsuit? 30 years ago. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Shane? I got to get that one book. I don't know which book. So you guys got to elaborate on this. Nice work on this day. And okay, drink to Tom. Okay. The shorts were, I just thought, wow, during the week it'd be nice to remind people, and I don't like doing the TikToks and taking things out of context for videos. I don't want to do prank videos. I don't want to do stupid stuff. I don't want to do fake stuff. So how do you get around that? Because the TikTok shorts thing is a big deal and reaches a lot of people. A lot of people love going through that stuff. So I thought, what about a day in? So a day, what day this is. Now, I'm not going to hit every day this year, but I'm going to go through and put things together each month. And some days might have a few multiple things. Some days may not have anything. But I'll capture most of the month and kind of throw in bits and pieces. I thought it was just a good way for the channel to kind of stay active and for people to something break up the day. It's not something that's going to slide in and interfere with anything else. It's just brief. There's no money in that stuff. I don't know if you get a quarter of a cent per view or what the deal is. You can get like 2,000 views on one of those and make yourself like 10 cents. So there's no money to be made on that stuff. People that do the shorts and say they make money, they better be getting millions and millions of views. It's a completely different monetary setup than the regular stuff with YouTube because of the commercials and so forth. So, but I thought we're never about the money. We're not about the whole monetary side of things. So I thought, well, it would be really cool just to do that. And I told Trevor, we'll just film them I'll just put them together, and then before we do the first Monday video or the first video we film that, I'll just go through and do a bunch of shorts. You just put them in, schedule them up, and boom. So nobody's mentioning my great musical videos, which was another idea I told them on Wednesdays, just to help chop up the week, because we do get lives or something special presentations on Friday. We got Chasing Legends on Monday. And while we're sitting in between, let's just take the unused music from all this stuff, and rather than talk sometimes about music, we can just present the pieces of music. So we got two. We forgot, actually, this week. I had the third one set. We were really busy. I can't remember what we were doing, but we were kind of like definitely kind of rolling along, and I kept meaning to tell Trevor, come on in, let's export this. I got it mixed. It's the end theme for Sunsets. These aren't going to be like great pieces at all. Maybe once I have it all together, it'll be kind of neat to listen to them in a particular order and how they sequence up together. A whole silver bullet to Clay Worst. Clay, yeah, you haven't been, Clay, what was it, Jim Beam or Jack Daniels? What was his? Trying to think of what it was. I got a picture of it. Might have been Jack, in his camp. Clay used to, at the end of the day, he'd, salutations. He'd have a drink with Clay at the end of the day after dinner. And I've been there a few times for that. So that was kind of cool. And I got a picture of him pouring the drinks for some of us, myself. I think Randy was there. Trying to think, Joe Roboto. I think Paul Shimmick might have been. I don't know if Paul listens to it. He doesn't chime in, but if he does, but yeah, he might have been standing there too. There was a group of us at one time, and he poured shots for everybody, and everybody got shots. So, but that was Clay's thing. So he might be a Jack guy. No Jack and Coke. It was straight Jack. But that was, I remember that was Clay's thing. Shoes. What was it? The shoes Jack and Coke with lime. Jim Beam. I don't know. These guys have different drinks. The Fireball thing with the Rendezvous kicked in. Fireball for years. It's kind of died its thing. I think when we had the old timers there that used to really put some stuff away, that was the big deal. And they would, they'd drink that Fireball like crazy. And I think part of it was with the girlfriends and the wives there. It was something they didn't hate, unlike just passing the tequila or the Jack around. So that was probably why it kind of leaned that way. For many years. By the way, the shorts of what's happened on this day are awesome during the week. There you go. So, yeah, just basically I sat down and thought that would be a cool thing. How come no other channel did anything like that? How come all of us have missed that? And I just, everybody just wants to drink to everybody. But I just thought, man, that would be such a cool idea on this day. And I told Trevor, it doesn't need any elaboration. It just needs a thing that would give you, a date and something. And if you go to the archives, by that you can go to that date and look it up and find the newspaper story or whatever fully. So I told him, I said, I just want to do these brief bang these out, and yeah, it's worked out really well. So there you go. An interesting fact while we drink to Jacob Waltz. I might have to replenish. We're doing too much drinking, and I'm not getting to do some serious thinking. Well, that was a thought, and it's gone. So there you go. In fact, today, if I look a little worn, I'm tired, but I did actually, before we did live, get a shower. That is an unusual thing, so I have clean hair. And like I said, I hooked up this light. I'm trying to come up with this light concept. So I want to get a couple lights that I can use in here, and all. The problem is once I put in the lights in the ceiling, I have a feeling it's not going to help a lot because my hat's going to always shadow me. So I don't know, but I'm thinking having something on either side looks like it'll work because I only have something on this side right now, but it's lighting up pretty well. So even though you can see they're not blackout curtains, so you can see the sunlight coming in back in the back corner. There you go. So as we continue to wrap through, well, we've almost done 30 minutes already. All right. So anyhow, so there's the Thunder God's Gold thing. If you're watching, I'm going to be looking that up on this day. I don't know if I need to include myself, but yeah, I'm going to try to hit some key high points, things that we've talked about in videos and certain other things, but it'll primarily be on this day in the superstitions, and then I'll look at it. Greg Davis has 25,000. Oh, let's drink to that. Greg Davis has 25,000 flight hours, and he never crashed a jet. And took off and landed on an aircraft carrier, so that's something to be said. That is something to be said. So you can't do that. Any word on a hike? Maybe the 91st. We're talking about doing something. I'm looking at schedules, and I'm looking at a couple different variations of what I want to do. So that will be coming probably in February. I don't think I'm going to wait as long as March. I'm trying to navigate everything going on tomorrow at the Pioneer Cemetery. There is a graveside dedication for Jacob Waltz. They have a bench and a new monument and stuff. The Dons, they had contacted the Dons about it sometime back. Last fall, I think. Not this fall, but the fall before, 2023. Anyways, the dedication ceremony is going on tomorrow at 9 a.m. down at the Pioneer Cemetery, down by the, what do they call it, the Loosely? Is it the Loosely section? But anyways, Trevor and I will be down there representing the Dons of Arizona for that. Speaking of the devil, thank you for the lighting. Lighting seems to be working.
You're in the dark.
Package. No, I'm actually lit better than I normally am because it's usually a glare on one side. Okay. Is this my package?
Yeah.
Is this the one I was waiting for?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a package. Ooh. We've done unboxings, haven't we? Have we?
Yeah.
People like the shorts.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my idea.
Hello, everybody.
Trevor's here. Don't want to tear anything up. This was sent. I gotta remember. I just cut through his name and I forgot his name. I'm forgetting a lot all of a sudden. We're talking about too many very different things. And that's causing a problem with my memory right now. My eidentic memory, which is really pretty awesome.
Eidentic?
Yeah.
What?
Hold on. It's Solon Woodall. So I hope Solon is the way you say his name. Solon, Solon. Woodall. Solon Woodall. Do you think that's how you say it?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Trevor says it sounds like it. Anyways, he's a fan of the show. We occasionally get things. We have, back on the shelf, can you point at it? Clint's contribution back there. Clint got that for me and all. We have the Chasing Legend sign. But also the Gator. We're going to have to bring the Gator in and put the Gator up. Dave the Gator is going to have to appear. All right, here we go. And there's two of these. So we'll just take one out of the box. But this is what I was sent. I was sent two of these. I don't know what I'm doing with that. It's a pick holder. This one says Fender picks. Anyhow, it's something you put your picks in. And then you put this down, and then you lock it up. And it says picks on the bottom. So there it has a thumbs up. There you go. I guess we'll open the other one because I'm going to see if that one says Gibson. What are the odds? Okay, Trevor says he doesn't know. It doesn't say anything on it that typifies which kind it would be. So this one's actually... If I cut my finger off on the show, is that considered entertainment? Ooh, almost did it there. And here's this one. Let's do this one. This one says, well, yep, Gibson Les Paul. So this one says Gibson Les Paul. Now I covered up. So I got, thank you, Solon. I hope it's Solon. But Solon for sending these for my Gibson and Fender picks. So they will be prominently displayed.
I'm gonna
in here.
go put my stuff down, and then I have to unclog the shower drain.
Okay, Trevor, can you go put this away in the kitchen for me while you're heading out?
Yep.
So I don't play with knives while I'm sitting here.
Off.
Yeah, that's going to happen eventually.
Probably get this kicked off YouTube.
Okay. Let's go up. Okay, line is good. I recently finished Quest for the Dutchman's Gold. Oh, you're Mr. Robert Sikorsky. What are your thoughts on this? It's also known as Fool's Gold. I have different... He changed the book cover and all. Pretty cool book. I like the book. Purely, it's one of the first-hand accounts of being with Celeste Jones in their camp. I heard he was a really good guy and all. And it was just a little memoir he wanted to put together. So, I liked it, but the original book is Fool's Gold. Actually, let me get a couple. I can get to the books because I rearranged the bookshelves. So, oh. The bookshelves are now arranged very neatly. This is the one you're speaking of, Quest for the Dutchman's Gold by Robert Sikorsky. This was the original one. It's called Fool's Gold. So it's the same book. Facts, Myths, and Legends of the Lost Dutchman Mine and Superstition Mountains, which he uses that same tagline there. But he had the two different books, so either or are good. But this is the first one. This is the second one. And then the back cover's kind of the same. It's just an inset of his picture there, but this was the whole back side was the same picture. Oh, covered Mr. Sikorsky's face up. So there you go. Yes, I rearranged and kind of modified you'll see it during Chasing Legends, so I could access the books better. So if we're talking and I need to get something, I'm familiar with not only where they're at, but it's easier to access. I had way too much stuff hanging up there. Have you ever heard any gold or treasure stories about Usury Pass, Dome Mountain? No. Found some interesting, well, everybody dug everywhere, and prospects are prospects. That's, it's a prospect if you think something's there. No, I'll be going through the files, and I got a file cabinet with 2 drawers full of just Arizona stuff, and I'm trying to balance it all. So, okay, hold on. We'll just move on down. Let's see here. Thumbs up. What's up, Trevor? Greatest win, Gil Gold prospecting in San Antonio, Texas, where every day is a golden day. Cool shorts. Always loved the 1880 stores, Superstition Mountains. Cool Sky Club. Glad you're here. Trevor's beard looks like he could stop a train. Yeah, it's a good beard. It's a lot of beard for that boy. I'm glad he does actually try to keep it trimmed up, because who knows where that thing would go. He can't play an instrument, but he's okay. He's a poor drummer, but he's a worse guitarist. So how do you put that up? On this day, Wayne did alive. Where's Trevor's cowboy hat like yours? Trevor doesn't have one like mine. He has a couple of his grandfathers. He doesn't wear those. I think his grandfather's head was too small. Trevor, the one you see Trevor wear usually, he wears it a lot. He wears it to work, and he wears his boots a lot too. But the one you'll see him wearing at times is it beaver skin? He's not here to correct me. Is it beaver or kangaroo skin? It's from Australia. Frank gave it to him. That's the main hat you see him wearing, that brown one. Okay. When was your first trip to the Supers and what year? 1973, 74. Right around then. Now, I know we'd been to the Superstitions because my family come out, picnic, or, walk around. But I call 73, 7 for that trip when I'm like 9 or 10. That's my first trip through the mountains, where I physically walked through the mountains. We went from First Water to Peralta down through Willow Canyon, and that's my first trip to me, because that's when I heard about the Superstitions. We went down that way, But that was the moment. It was like, okay, I want to come back to this place. And everything triggered right after that because I wouldn't stop talking about it. I wanted to go back. For my birthday, I got a copy of Killer Mountains. I read that book probably a dozen times that summer. And I literally could just say it word for word. And it was that kind of got to the point by the end of the year. I had a copy of Sim Zeeley's Lost Dutchman Mine and Thunder God's Gold because that just interest was grabbing on to me and so forth. Let's see here. Cowboy Hat, First Trip. I did that. Let's Drink to Julia Thomas. And she had big thighs. She could have been a small, petite woman. That was a Brownie Holmes thing. She was a big, fat, dark as black as night woman. And then the one picture they have of her, she does not look like that. Times in town were very racist. If you read the ads from when she had her bakery and all that type of stuff, they will even mention that white people wash the dishes. People were very prejudiced against different people. They did not want Chinese or Mexican people washing their dishes, they're touching their food. So because of that, they would actually advertise who was even just washing your dishes. So she had to be pretty light-skinned. Someone just asked about something that I have. It's handy right here, and I want everything to fall out of there. 2 copies of Robert Joseph Allen's books. Yes, I found those. I knew I'd had them around because I'd been thumbing through one, but I got both of those, and they're on the paperback, which we just talked about. The first book I read, The Killer Mountains, the paperback that traveled everywhere. This was the one, man, because I had the hardcover, but this was the one I could take everywhere and carry with me and keep reading no matter what. Go to the doctor's office, I had a copy. Yeah, the whole summer traveled all. Yeah, that was my book. It's funny too because you can look at the eras of when people were born and their ages, and that's the books. Thunder God's Gold, and then Sim Zeeley, and Killer Mountains and stuff. So it's all interesting. So I found 2 copies of his book. So how did you like Blind Frog Ranch this week? I had to go to bed, so I watched it. They were at the pond doing the sonar thing, the beacon, and they said it just keeps traveling down the river or in the stream or whatever, so let's go down to the creek and put the sensors in there and we'll track it. And they all said that's a good idea, and they jumped in the ATV and they drove away. And when they did that, in the background you see the lines, the cords with the sensors still in the water. So, and then they magically have them in their hands and put them in the water at the creek. It was the same thing, the continuity and stuff, nobody editing properly. And then there was a weird thing, I don't know if people caught this, is I believe Dwayne Ollinger must be ill or something, because his movements and everything's really strange. But they were showing him, he's cut his hair and now he has a perm. But then they were doing OTFs, which are short interview bits with him, and it's like his hair was cut way back. It wasn't pulled back. It looked like his hair had been cut back even shorter. So I don't know what's going on there. I haven't talked to Josh or anybody, and I don't know if it was just weird, the continuity of him wearing the same clothes but having a completely different haircut again. And I'm like, they're not fooling anybody. Well, what are they doing? What's going on with him? And I think it would be sympathetic to know if there's something going on, because he doesn't seem to be able to move, and I don't know. I have no idea. None of my business, I guess. But there's a lot of distracting things, and the continuity of the production company, the production team, whoever's editing the show, I don't know if someone's not making sure everything is labeled properly or what's happening, but whoever's putting it together, nobody's obviously looking at it and making sure things look right. Even in the preview, or like last week in Blind Frog Ranch, they showed where they're going up the hill to do the drill site and they go right by the hideout, and you're just like, what? They even didn't have the presence of mind to say, this looks terrible. Wow, God, don't do that again, guys. And then there's no TV magic. Sorry, there's no TV magic. Yeah, that's the worst part. I get having a story, and I get the outlandishness, and I'm sure Josh, the NDAs that you sign when you go to do the show, Josh can't say a lot of things. You can't say certain things. But it was just kind of bizarre how they are like a bunch. I think Trevor's high school class does a better job editing stuff like that. It was really kind of tough. Oh, la, 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 la. Great to see you. I was wondering when you'd be on again, more of your stories. Hi from the little one in Ireland. Oh, okay. And that's Antoinette. Antoinette, that's an unusual Irish name. That is Antoinette. It's not very Irish, is it? There must have been an Italian in your family, I'm having a feeling. Or there's some other source for that. Where I can find some of Bob Ward's article from Val Paris. I don't know. I don't know if it was the Superstition Mountain. I can't remember the papers. I say the papers, and I don't know if those are on Ancestry or if they're not. Greg Davis has all those stuff archived. I have a book that was compiled of them that has not all of them, but quite a few of the Val Paris stuff. In fact, I have a Val Paris book up here, The Phantom of the Superstitions, and some of that stuff's included in there. Yeah, he was an interesting writer. I think he could have done well doing that. Today, he would have done great. I don't know how Ward would have been on doing videos, but yeah, he obviously spent so much time, he had more than a few stories. So, okay, we did the Blind Fog Ranch, the picture of Julia. He saw her as like family. I think they all obviously all saw that as family. I mean, about the chord. Yeah, the chords thing was really bad because they did it, and it was. You're looking at the pun, and you realize you see the chords going in the wall, and you're just like, hold it, and you want to yell at the guys, right? Hey, come back, and I don't know why there's constant. If you look at it, if you're looking for Easter eggs and that stuff, it's every scene. There's stuff, and it's fucking French. Okay, but it's fucking French, but you're in Ireland. Never mind. It's fucking French. It makes perfect sense that Antoinette and the French Irish. Yeah, the French. Yeah, okay. I have no idea. Okay, I'm not making fun of your name. It's not very Irish. Antoinette. Okay, so there you go. So someone in the family was like, hey, you know what? Let's name her after Marie Antoinette. Let the meat cake, and off that went. And so, I found a cool book on the thrift store called Tortilla Flat, Arizona, Then and Now, Real Story. Yep, I have that. Yep. I got that on the bookshelf. I just saw it the other day. I haven't read it for a while, but yes, it's got a yellow on it. I think it's a yellow kind of cover. Anyhow, yes, that one's a nice one for a little bit of the history on Tortilla Flat. They found gold in the mine. Why not stay there? They're not looking for treasure. They're not looking for gold. They're not looking for a mine. They're not looking for a cave. They're making a TV show. Hi, Wayne, watching from Seminole, Florida. There you go. 90s arcade cigarette. Now, there you go. I was worried about Antoinette being Irish, and now I have 90s arcade cigarette. His parents didn't have a clue, unless that was his uncle's or grandfather's name, and he was named after him. Old 90s. Anyhow, yeah, I don't understand the show, and I find it fascinating how we've jumped around. I mean, Oak Island at least has buried their head into, well, there's wood in this hole. Okay. There's no wood. Let's put a casing in. There was nothing there. Let's drill some more holes. Oh, we found wood in this hole. And then let's just take Gary off, which Gary's daughter is now in the show, but they have Gary's daughter show up, which, cool. But maybe that'll be Oak Island's going to hang around enough. It'll be the next generation. It'll be, what is it? The nephew. It's Marty's son, right? And then they have the nephew, Peter. And then they have is it a brother-in-law or cousin? Anyways, the other guy, I can't remember his name. And then they have Gary's daughter, so they'll just do that. Haven't been down Patchy Trail yet. No, we've been planning a trip. And the trip is planned, and we're waiting on Frank to say, yeah, let's go. That's it. So it was like, yeah, let's do this. Okay, and Frank said, let me think about it. I'll let you know. And then that was back in the end of November, beginning of December, and I talked to him and asked him, have you figured it out yet? No, I'll get back to you. So that's where we're at on that. So that's it. It's Caribbean's Bike in Smith's Cove. It's a pig spot. Yeah, there's just so many things about Oak Island that are kind of annoying, but it lulls you. It's like an old friend, you know. He tells the same story all the time. Huh, he said something a little different this time, but oh well. Yeah, it's okay. He's digging another hole. Have you firmed up a date? Yes, I have, but I can't say it yet because I'm waiting. I gotta wait till the next week or two. We'll release it. It's in November, so I can say that. But we were working around a few things and all that. Who else would rather be having a cold one at the Dons camp these days? It's awful cool outside. How about a hot cocoa or a cup of coffee? And the wind goes through there a lot during the winter. It gets breezy down in there, and you're doing gold panning on the discovery camps, and you just end up with little pieces of ice with fingers on them the whole day. But that wind whips through there a bit. Can't do fireball when you're working with 3rd and 4th graders, sorry. Oak Island Crew sounds like the Archie's cartoon band. It's weird because I'm never quite sure who's all in there. It's like, so-and-so, he's part of the group this week. Remember, they had the black guy. He disappeared. Now they're bringing in... Now there was a science expert. She was down in there with the other women doing the archaeological, but she was the scientific expert on something. She's getting corporate. I don't know how this all works. But Blind Frog Ranch does the same thing. They switch people out. They don't just add people and then people disappear and add, you know. Blind Frog Ranch is like, remember the guy with security? You had the one guy with security, but now we brought another guy who was even smaller but younger who wore a big leather trench coat as security, and then he disappeared. And then Eric was there. He went to wash his hair for a season. Then he came back after his hair dried. They have that weird thing of like just floating things around. The guy that went out and rappelled with them before, now he pops back in briefly. And I think he has something to do with Skinwalker Ranch, doesn't he? There's something to do with Skinwalker Ranch, too. I think he did some stuff with them or out there by it or wrote a book or something. I don't know. So I thought he had some stuff to do with that stuff. Going out for Discovery Camp. How's that going? Discovery Camp starts next Friday, not today Friday, but next Friday. So, and then it'll be 5-6 weeks of Discovery Camp, which could put a damper on Friday Lives because it'll be the chasing myself back home to get home for Lives. So, Lives will be to be determined. And that's kind of the difficult thing during this time period. There'll be times I'll make it. The one I won't is probably the final one where we clean up camp, because we try to put everything in the bunker and clean everything up, and because that takes a little longer, I have to see the schedules. And once I see the first schedule, which I won't see till next Friday, once I see the day schedules, how many groups and how that all works, and then I'll kind of know better. But that last schedule is, if it's a group and we only have 4 or 5 groups go through, we can wrap up pretty quick. And I think we've been getting it in under an hour, and there's a shot. But it's hard. I have this feeling that if you look outside the box, you might just find the gold. I think you got to stay inside the parameters more. I think that's been the biggest problem, is why it's been lost so long, is I think everybody jumped outside the box, and then everybody forgot what the box looked like, what the parameters of the box were, what the box was made. I mean, I think that became a bigger problem. I think everything started getting lost from the origin story. I think Oak Island's a similar one to that. And then now nobody knows exactly. I mean, there's people that will argue Reinhardt, Petrash, and Julia Thomas have nothing to do with this. And they didn't really listen to Dick Holmes. Well, if Dick Holmes, the problem is he's not mentioned until he starts mentioning himself. You got to remember, the Dick Holmes story comes from Dick Holmes. It's like he's supposed to be keeping it secret, but he talked to the newspapers and told everybody he knew. But he wasn't associated with any of those people at all in any ways. There was some sort of other thing there. So you go to those people. It's the sources with them. One of our problems is we look at it 30 years later from a perspective of, okay, if we knew this, if somebody would have asked this, well, that's from 130 years of failure. When Jim Bark and all them were really kind of sitting down and trying to ask the questions, they're just thinking, okay, we want to find this camp or this mine. Okay, what can we do? Julia and Reinhardt were looking for both the camp and the mine, which were associated near each other. Waltz promised them we only need the cash, which would have been plenty enough, and he said nearby's the mine. He told them very distinctly, when we get there, we get the cash, I'll explain how you would get to the mine, but we don't need to mess with the mine. We don't need to go to the mine. So, I am ready for fun historical hike, buddy. I have a feeling that, okay, that was the box. Okay, there. And so, from our Irish fan, Antoinette. But, yeah, so they were looking for the cash because that was where they had their directions to, and from that. Now, how much did Waltz try to then tell them about the mine, which might have muddied up the directions? He said they were both hard to find, and you couldn't really find one without the other, and it makes it suddenly become a riddle. And so find the cash, and you're close to the mine. Yeah, you're in the vicinity. Now, what does that mean? I think you might be able to figure it out. But everything he did, I mean, everything he said made it sound very, very difficult. Miner's not going to find the mine. There's no tailings. It's this. He covered it up. A rancher's not going to find it. You know, a cowboy's not going to find it because he can't ride his horse up to it. How easy was the camp? How indistinct was the camp? He supposedly kind of erased most traces of that. There has to be something distinctive, and that's why I always said whatever Jim Bark asked them in questions and he was looking for, there's a lot there we don't know that's never been spoken of. I'm sure he asked, but we could think right here 50 things to ask them right now, and it could resolve it fast. Well, what did Walt say? What did he give any description of his camp? Did they really listen to that? Did they even think in those terms of, because see, Reinhardt said his thought was he's going to get out and point the way. He's either going to take us there or go out and kind of show it to us. And he figured it was going to be that easy. He did not think it was going to be that difficult. And then once he's gone, did Herman do any searching? No. Brownie Holmes and Herman had nothing to do with each other. Clay said he really, and he didn't know Brownie at the time, but he said he wondered if the two sides would have met. I don't think it would have made any difference because I think Brownie Holmes had information from his dad, and I think Dick Holmes' information came from either Albert Schaefer or Herman or Reinhardt or something, or Julia even, possibly Julia. I don't think Dick Holmes knew Waltz. I don't think he met Waltz. I don't think any of that has anything to do with anything. He didn't live near him. If you ever want to, I could write a book about Dick Holmes and his version of the Lost Dutch Mine, and it would take forever because the biggest problem with it is he can't even keep his own story straight. He was living across the street from Waltz. He wasn't. He went over. His wife and him went over. His wife said they both went over. They sat with Waltz. Julia asked them to do it. What an upstanding guy. This woman comes out. Waltz is dying. I've been caring for him. Oh my God! So he sends this woman running down the streets at 5, 6 in the morning looking for a doctor, and so he could go sit with them. Okay, hey, that's pretty cool. You're pretty stoic, dude. So then it becomes, he died. He was at the store, and then he was in the back of the store. Then he was in a little building in the back of the store, and then it was him and what's his name, Roberts, Gideon Roberts, and then it wasn't him and Roberts. It was him and some Mexican guy named Ramirez. And by the time you get done with Dick Holmes' versions of his story, you don't know which way's up. And it's the problem is you got Clay's version and people hear a certain version. They don't realize there's newspaper articles where Dick Holmes contradicts himself constantly. And the problem becomes once something's a popular story, everybody else kind of gravitates and grabs pieces of it, and it changes other stories. Have you ever gone to the cache? I told you about the old visitor center. I don't know, when did you tell me this? The old visitor center. I still don't think the trail to the mine starts at the Quarter Circle U, the goat ranch at the Milk Ranch Creek. Well, that's all dependent on how you want your perspective. One of the things that makes no sense is if Waltz was saying, it's the first canyon on the western end of the Superstitions, on the south side is the first canyon in and all. The Milk Ranch doesn't make sense. Hewitt Canyon doesn't make sense. Iron Mountain, Rogers Trough, none of that stuff. The Silver Chief, none of it makes sense. It just starts falling apart. There's a lot of problems with certain things. The Quarter Circle U kind of fits, and there was a goat ranch, and there was goats down at the goat ranch by the Quarter Circle U. It was a place that Matt Cavanis built for his mother-in-law, and they had goats down there, and they milked them, and that was another one. So there's a confusion of all that stuff, most of the traffic, but you have to, again, you have to sit back and say, okay, taking exactly what Jim Bark said they said, and then looking where Jim Bark and Sims Ely and people, and you read their letters, and where they went first. And guys that had pretty good early information where they went first. And you start looking at Julia and them end up at Hog Canyon. Now, they don't have a clue about the mountains. They don't know where they're going. So they were just kind of trying to show up and go, okay, what would you say? Well, I don't know. Let's look over here. But other people that were able to take more and more material from it, I think they were able to kind of look at it. And when you look at these guys where they start and sometimes where they finish, you find it's kind of the same area. And then Jim Bark didn't mention it so much, but Sims Ely says we just kept spreading our search areas bigger and bigger. And then we started gridding areas because we realized we hadn't found it. Rocky! So we haven't found it, so we'll just start working grid by grid by grid. So they ended up all over the place. And the problem is, kind of once you start losing the essential things to the clues, and you start matrixing and thinking, well, maybe this means this, you start changing the whole parameter of what you're looking for. Whether it's the Quarter Circle U or not, I think, you have to look at it as okay, how does the Milk Ranch fit with the other directions? And that's problematic. And I always try to separate the Two Soldiers and the Joe Deering stuff. Keep them as separate entities to the Waltz stuff, because they don't always work together, and I don't always know if Jim Bark and Sims Ely were correct in saying the same things were there. So it might. Okay, Ed is saying Adrian. I don't know why he's saying Adrian. Anyways, I don't know. Yo, Adrian. All right. I don't know if he's doing Rocky Balboa or something. But anyways, yeah, so I will always say, and it's going to be something repetitive because I really do believe it, is I don't know what else Jim Bark had, but I don't know what Jim Bark asked. And if we knew the questions and we knew those answers directly to them, would they change the way we perceive a lot of this stuff? I've had people that I respect as Dutch hunters have a lot of time in the mountain, and they dismiss stuff that's probably the oldest stuff. Some of that first stuff, those first people, are very important. You can say PC Bicknell is very important. If it isn't for Julia Thomas and Reinhard Petrasch, and possibly even Jim Bark meeting them, I don't think the PC Bicknell stuff even kicks out. I don't think any of this stuff happens. Cavernous Ranch, yeah. So, but it's, to me, is you're kind of like leaning back into it and saying, okay, what was he asking? He was going to look for it. He got very interested in it. He had the finances to search for it. Then Sim Zealy came in. And the one thing you have to understand is that Reinhard Petrasch and Julia Thomas's stories completely match up. And basically, Sim Zealy says when he met with Julia 10, 15 years later, it was still the word-for-word same story that she had originally told to Jim Bark. And that means that story is probably right on the money of whatever they told. Now, are we getting every piece of information? No. And when they were doing a little deep diving on them about things they might have heard or how Walt said this or what he was talking about, we don't know there either. We knew they had to take camp gear, so wherever they were parking the wagon and walking in, they were going to have to stay overnight, and they did on a number of trips and stuff. But Walt's never said, well, it's going to take us probably all day to hike there after we park the wagon, and then we'll get the cash, and then we're going to have to take it out. There was but I'm sure Jim Bark would have asked, is like, did he say how long? Did he say this? Sims wrote, the Bicknell was in the mountains at the time it was written. Bicknell wrote the article for the San Francisco Chronicle article. So Bicknell had come in, and he was a newspaper guy and got the articles. I could get the articles right off the shelf because I have the documents sitting right there. Bicknell was not one of the early Dutch hunters. There's several other names attached that Julian Reinhardt operated with. I'm trying to remember the one gentleman's name. It actually lists him in a newspaper article. It was once they realized nobody was getting them anywhere, they decided that but they didn't even get Waltz's name right. They didn't get his nationality right. They didn't get Julia's name right. It's kind of weird. If someone locally really wanted to do the story, they would have got everything right, because you can take a year or two later, and when she's searching for the mine, there's articles about her bakery being closed and the ice cream shop, and it was considered a hot spot in Phoenix. So there was people who remembered that place fondly. She was well thought of as a businesswoman and her business enterprise. So you have to read beyond that stuff, and then you get a better idea of the person. Like, oh, she shut all that down, and people remembered, man, what's this woman doing? She used to So it's very odd. That's not included in Greg's thing. I think Greg did a disservice when he did the newspaper articles that everybody and all things interrelated for about a 20-25 year period. He should have done that, because it gives you more of an idea of certain things, of how they were living, how the news went. When you see the newspapers from that time, if someone spits on the ground, it makes the newspaper. If someone called someone something stupid in the street and it was overheard by a lady and it was considered uncouth, it made the newspaper. So, like, if Julia Thomas was out there selling tickets to sit with Waltz and all this stuff and had fireworks and doing all this stuff, that would have made the newspapers. So, here's your problem. Julia did do the stuff at her house when they started the new religion around the turn of the century. She got into kind of a messianic Christian cult about apocalypse, which was very popular at the time. And Albert was very into it. And she's supposed to do visions, and they do colored smoke and all kinds of stuff. And she was considered to have visions. That's important. So because that story is mashed with an earlier stuff that couldn't have happened because it wasn't in the newspapers. Like I said, it's basically Waltz died at Julia's house with a blessing on his lips for that she'd cared for him. That's what we get. Not that she's out there like, sit with the dying man and all that stuff's a bunch of BS. I think that was Frank Alkire account that someone found, and we pushed to find the source from it because Frank Alkire did an autobiography and it was not included. We're like, how the hell did he leave those stories or some of that stuff out? And then it was found out it was BS. By the time of that paper, which paper you're talking about. But anyways, Julia had to shut down her store the first year. So, let's say Waltz died, 1890. And so by fall of 1891, she's kind of unloaded the store and closed everything down. There's no ad for her shop in that paper. There are newspapers that have ads for the Thomas Bakery. All right, don't tell me there's not, because I have copies of them. And there was ads for the Thomas Bakery and the ice cream shop and that kind of stuff. And there are little pieces and stuff about the shop for years. And so then later, when she was doing other things, they would say, it's hard to believe this is the Mrs. Thomas that operated that. So that was what I was referencing before. There was a lot of people, definitely with Gary Cundiff and Larry Hanna did the research that would blow your mind onto the operations where Julia and her husband Emil and where they traveled and the shops and leases and where they moved the shops and where the furniture ended up and the blueprints for all that stuff and all that. I don't know why you're going to August 1895. That was when someone else said that was an article. She did not have a store there because she had to get rid of the store to go search for the mine. We already agreed on that, but you're going to sit and play in a box. You're playing in a sandbox by yourself right there. Hey, Wayne, is it true Waltz possibly killed his own kin? No, I don't think so. Because everyone that has a relationship with him that you read, that they interview for real, that weren't just like, yeah, I'll tell you a story. A lot of people spoke of him kind of fondly, nicely. Julian Reinhardt certainly did. They didn't make him sound like a bad guy at all. And other people didn't either. He wasn't listed as a drunk. He wasn't listed as this guy with this mind that people tried to follow. If you find the early papers, the mid-1880s up into the early 1890s, and you can't find a complete set, but if you find bits and pieces, you read it, you will see what I'm talking about. It's like TMZ because there's not a lot going on. So everything, nobody saw so-and-so for 3 days. And people wondered if he might have passed away and all, but he reappeared. He just had a cold. And There's a lot that they had to cover, and they needed day-to-day news to put in locally. So that was always part of the thing. So anything that would happen when Waltz died, there was nothing dramatic because it just didn't make the papers. And afterwards, people try to make all this stuff about all this other stuff that is kind of baloney because we would have records or source material for it. We don't have the source material in all that stuff because it didn't happen. But if people talk to you enough about it, you'll get it in the back of your skull and you'll start thinking, oh, what about this? What about this? And that's a problem for Dutch hunters. I had the same problem for years till I got the point and realized, it just isn't a thing. It's just someone made something up and it's been spoken of for so long. Everybody believes that the tip of Weaver's needle's shadow shines on the mine. It has nothing to do with Jacob Waltz. It has nothing to do with anything. But it's been spoken and said and quoted in books for so long that, bang, it must be true. Have any of the mysteries of the Superstition Mountains been solved? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of things been resolved. We saw resolved one thing was where was the hieroglyphic, the petroglyph stone that the Mormons had down at the Mormon temple, and we found out it didn't even come from the Superstitions. We found the spot it came from. Me and Kim Johnson worked hard on that, and we solved where it came from, and that's all said and done. It didn't even originate the story or anything in the Superstitions. Tom Collenborn, a lot of people thought, because of the misnaming of Hieroglyphic Canyon in the Santan Mountains and the Superstitions, of putting it in the wrong place. It got back home. It's back with the community, and everything's all good and right there. So I don't know what paper you're talking about. Okay, that's part of the problem. You're talking 1895 paper. There's nothing about Julia in the 1895 paper. There was that story. I don't know what you're specifically talking about. You'd have a tendency to be going through all this and realize we're talking about various different things. And now you'll take your words away because you'll be like, well, okay, we were talking basically about newspaper articles, and someone said P.C. Bicknell. P.C. Bicknell was not one of the earliest guys to search. I said it was someone else with Julia, and his name is in the paper in the first year or so, and before Bicknell and all that stuff comes up. So there you go. Bicknell did go looking for the lost soldier's mine. That's in the paper as well. So there you go. I have a bunch of that stuff, like I said, on file. And maybe next time I'll bring it up. Are you and Frank going back out next week? I've kind of addressed that, is that I've called Frank and said, what do you want to do next? What's going? We have plans. We have things set. And then he doesn't kind of want to get out. And I don't know what that is. He had a bit of a cold. He had family in for Christmas, and he has a new puppy, and puppy's a handful, and so we'll see what happens after that. So there, but no, Taz, understand that was purely for me of, yeah, people were talking about one thing, and I was addressing the fact that there was a bunch of stuff. Sims wrote the August 25, 1895, but says what Jim Bark worded as, and you kind of left there. Okay, so gotta get up. And we have to go over here and look. Oh. No, it's not that one. It's not that one. It's not this one. There it is. Bear with me, folks. It's a lot of stuff to go through. When people think they have stuff, they don't understand the amount of stuff to go through. So he's quoting the 1895 article, which is halfway through this book of articles. Okay, let's go through here. The mythical claim. That's the 1894. This is the 1894 article. 1895. We have 1895. This is the San Francisco Chronicle version. I'm through all these pages of newspaper articles before I get to it. I don't know if it has the tagline specifically. I mean, it says it's P.C. Bicknell. Then we have the Saturday Review in 1895, Dutch Jacob's Mines. That is written by, I don't know, I'm not going to go through each one. And then there's an 1895 one. I don't know. But the ones I'm talking about are earlier. I'll have to review this and talk who some of those first searchers were. The guy's not famous. He was just a prospector in the area and probably was someone that Waltz knew. And they hooked in with him. That was the first three people that went searching, because we used to talk about that. If you went through the old forums back in the day, Ron Feldman's forums from the early 2000s, you would see we had a lot of discussions for that. Just jumped in for a few minutes. There you go. Rockin', okay. Frasier. No, it wasn't Frasier. Great show tonight. Heading into January. Are you and Frank? Okay, so we did that. Taz, I promise you, next time I'll have this, and I will put things in order, and we will talk about it, and I'll bring up those other names. There was other people that went in the mountains And then PC Bicknell, I think, is in there searching for the lost soldiers' mind, the French soldiers' mind. He was in there, and he's in a specific article of returning from that journey. And all these things are in there. I'm saying that it would have been nice with other miscellaneous articles that it was put in there too, so people kind of got the perspective of what made the newspapers. Anything would make the newspapers. The first article, I don't know, concerning the Lost Dutchman mine and Julia and them, maybe that's what we'll do the next time I'm in here. Maybe next Friday I'll sit down, I'll kind of memorize most of it out, but we'll sit and because it's a bit of a weird one, and it's right after Waltz dies, and obviously it's Julia and them coming back in, but there's activity. If someone went out prospecting, if people say me and Frank were going out, and we told a few people, said, yeah, we're going to go out this weekend, we're going to go prospecting, we're going to go down in Hewitt and do some prospecting, it made the newspaper. So people would say, oh, Frank Augustine and Wayne Tuttle have left, expect to be back by Monday, they're prospecting down in the southern end of the Superstitions. That made the newspaper. It wasn't we reported it, it's just that sort of thing because they needed stuff to put in there. Time for a bowl of chili. That actually sounds good. Gonna go watch a football game tonight. And snow later, peeps. Okay, peeps. There we go. Just jumped in for a few minutes. Jack found the mine with and died rich. Who's Jack? Oh, you think Fraser? No, Fraser didn't find that mine. Fraser found a lot of mines. There was a lot of silver mines out there, and Fraser died rich. And Fraser did some, I don't know what you would say, lucrative real estate deals with people in the area. That I don't even want to get into the whole thing of like, someone said, yeah, there was this body on Abe Reed's burrow, and it was all wrapped up, like it wrapped up in blankets and all. It was missing its head. Well, how do you tell it was missing its head? It was wrapped up in a blanket. But, people talk about it and stuff, the headless corpse that he transported all the way to Blacktop Mesa from there. And, people saw him, and he didn't seem to have a problem with it, but it was wrapped in a blanket, and yeah, whatever. So have a good one, Tony Arthur. And let's see, Culver's Chili is pretty good. Friday evening, thanks for the live. Yeah, we need to get out. I didn't find no gold. You didn't find no gold. Have you ever applied for treasure trove permit? No, I've never applied for one. It would be a necessity in certain circumstances for certain treasures. There was one we were close to. And I referenced and I talked to Ron Feldman about his process. The process they made him go through, definitely with the wilderness area, is something I would not want to live. I would rather illegally go in and get it out and spend my money that way than do what he had to do. What he had to do, and when was that? Probably 2001, 2002, 2003, in that era. What he had to do, and I should talk about. I'd rather let Ron tell that story, but what he had to go through to do that is crazy. Most of us would just give up. And what the loops they put him through are incredible, of what he was required, not only financially, but what he was required to do and the boxes he had to check. And Ron is a patient man that he went through all that. Let's also mention that Jack Sanfelice and his partners at the Silver King have had to go through red tape bureaucracy for years trying to open that up or even at least get something done. And they've literally just drug them. They're just playing them out till they're dead, and their families don't care and will take, set pennies on the dollar to get that place. So it's a shame, but it is what it is. I mean, you're fighting a losing battle. Now, I got to get out of here because we ran way over. Yeah, we ran way over. So thank you, everybody. Taz, I will put that stuff together. We'll kind of sort it out. I'll look back at this and then kind of sort out where we got sideways on all that stuff. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to my archives because everything was handy this week. See what happens when I get to actually organize? That was kind of cool. Great night. Good stuff. Play that damn guitar. I probably will tonight. Yeah, I probably will, just for a little therapy for a little bit here after the sun goes down. So thank you everybody for joining us. We will catch you around the next time. I'm going to get out of here because if I don't get out of here, I take forever trying to get out of here. Everybody have a great weekend. Catch Chasing Legends on Monday. Catch those shorts through the week. We'll try to drop a video Wednesday. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.